Lacey Hunt, and then Jim Rickards, who was LTCM, Long-Term Capital Management, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. We're going to write a book together. And then Jeff Snyder. And the thing that is shocking is that all of them say the same thing, is the Fed has no power. The Fed's a joke. And that's why Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul was with us in Texas. And he says the same thing, and the Fed. But everybody thinks the Federal Reserve Bank is omnipotent, the most powerful bankers in the world. And what these guys are saying, they have no power because the real banking system is the shadow banking system. It's the banking system we cannot see. And so when the Fed says, oh, we're going to talk about expectations, they say, we're printing money. So the Fed says, we're printing quantitative easing. And everybody goes, oh, that means there's going to be inflation. Oh, there's going to be inflation. Oh, there's going to be inflation. But what Lacey Hunt, Jim Rickards, and Jeff Snyder are saying, no, it's deflation. And when Lacey Hunt started the whole thing, I think he was part of the Fed. He says what the Fed depends upon is GDP, gross domestic product, equals M2 times V. And M2 is money supply. So every time the Fed chairman, this guy Powell, gets up there and says, oh, we're issuing, we're going to print money, they don't print money. But everybody thinks when the Fed says we're printing money or quantitative easing, they think it's M2. And what Jeff Snyder and everybody else is saying, George and everybody's saying, the Fed doesn't print money, the Fed prints bank reserves. And the difference is we cannot spend bank reserves. It's not money. But everybody says, oh my God, there's going to be inflation because the Fed's printing money, but they're not printing money, they're printing bank reserves. I think the most important thing is that the Fed is a joke. I mean, exactly and he was on stage with us in Texas a couple of days ago, and he said, the Fed's a joke. And everybody says, oh, don't fight the Fed. What else do they say? Fed has forward guidance. And the Fed is the Wizard of Oz. He's got no power.
Right.
And it's kind of hard for the average person to understand that. But that's the beauty of YouTube and all the stuff we listen to and going to those conferences. And so the conference was for a lot of rich people. But then to go to Del Frisco's and have the wait staff all excited because we're there. So that's the power of YouTube.
Yeah.
They have access to everybody.
Yeah.
What they manage expectations. So when the Fed gets up there and says, we're going to do QE, the uneducated, the unwashed, the filthy, the people who don't watch YouTube say, oh, that means there's going to be inflation. QE, quantitative easing, means they're printing money. But they're not printing money, they're printing bank reserves, and you cannot spend a bank reserve. All it is a ledger entry between I owe you, Daniil, $10, and you say, I owe you $10, but no, there's no money there. So it's a complete sham. And that's what the power of YouTube is, and guys like Jeff Snyder, Lacey Hunt, and Jim Rickards, and the staff working on us, they can now get to some of the best teachers in the world for free. And they say we're in deflation, not inflation. But everybody's buying houses, Daniil, because they think prices are going up. Because it's called the Fed manages expectancy, not reality. So they send out, when I watch CNBC, all those goofballs out there say, oh, the Fed issued forward guidance. It's a sham. They want to trick you. And that's what guys like Lacey Hunt, Jeff Snyder, and Jim Rickards are saying. It's bullshit. And then they say, well, don't fight the Fed. And that's why it was so profound in Texas. And then studying what we study at Rich Dad is these three guys who most people would never even listen to. They're the smartest guys I've ever met. So it's the Fed is the Wizard of Oz. Let me explain it, because this is what Jeff Snyder made really clear. It goes to the monetary system, the banking system. There's a thing called the shadow banking system. And the shadow banking system is like 100 times bigger than the Fed. And what all three guys, Lacey Hahn, Jim Rickards, and Jeff Snyder, are saying, the shadow banking system is crashing. So the Fed is out there saying, oh, we're issuing forward guidance saying, we're going to print QE or whatever they do. So everybody thinks price is going up. But the reality of the three guys are saying, we're going into a depression. It's crashing. Because the biggest money system is a shadow banking system. We cannot see it. It's crashing as we speak. The Fed has no power. The Fed is the Wizard of Oz. And if you think of it that way, I wrote an article for a friend at Jet Set, and I wrote about the Fed being the Wizard of Oz. I caught hell for that one too. But anyway, I was just kind of guessing, I was just kind of guessing. I think like Janet Yellen looks like Uncle Festus, or, they're all a bunch of cartoons. I mean, what was his name? Who was the Fed chairman? Greenspan. Oh, I'm going to tweak the interest rates to 0.5%. Everybody gets all excited, he raised by 0.5%, he lowered by 0.5%. And all these idiots jump up and down like a bunch of clowns. And it got no power. The biggest monetary system is the shadow banking system, and it's going broke. If you notice, the reason the shelves are empty is because the Fed or Yellen has been paying people to stay at home. So the truck drivers aren't driving, and they're not unloading the trucks. The shelves are empty, and everybody goes, oh my God, there's a shortage. I think it's all manufactured. Why would they pay people not to work? Why would there be 9 million ships sitting offshore? Nobody's unloading them. The shelves are empty. And everybody thinks there's inflation. There's supply and demand. Then Biden cuts out the Keystone pipeline, and then he wants to buy oil. So Russia and Saudi Arabia are in trouble now because when they abandoned Afghanistan, that broke the agreement with the petrodollar with with Saudi Arabia and America. See, America promised Saudi Arabia we'd protect them. But when they dumped Afghanistan, the Saudis said, oh my God, we can't trust America. So this is all happening in the last few weeks. And so the euro dollar, the shadow banking system is collapsing. And so so Powell gets up, the Fed chairman gets up, and he says, oh, we're going to start to end taper, and that means we might start interest rates. They're trying to get people to spend money. What they say is low interest rates are not good. It means the economy is collapsing. And if interests were really high, that would be good for another reason. Everything is opposite of what we think it is. And that's what the power of those YouTube videos we studied, Lacey Hunt, Jim Rickards, and Jeff Snyder. Inflation is a tax. That's what it is. And the trouble is, there really isn't inflation, it's really deflation. And the trouble is, what's deflating is the shadow banking system. And the Fed doesn't have the power to stop it. So that's why the odds are going into a depression. But also when they dumped all the weapons in Afghanistan, it pissed off the Saudis and Israel. They don't trust America today. So that's crushing the economy of Europe.